So, what is life? Life is suffering. Listen, life is suffering is a plain fact. Most wise men from the past and the present have said this again and again. Soon we are going to see that. Though the real discovery is, life is a great fun ride, in spite of the fact that life is suffering. Alright, first thing first. Life is suffering is not a statement which can be viewed from the lenses of good or bad. It is a mere fact, a reality. That does not mean life is always full of misery, hell, struggle, drudgery, pain. Who is stopping you from having joy, thrills of adventure, pleasures of life and nature, fulfillment, meaningfulness, finding a great purpose? No one is stopping us. Even the suffering is not stopping us. So go ahead and have fun. The effect of suffering will be way less. Suffering theory probably starts from the great wise man from the East, Gautam Buddha. He was born a prince. His father kept him away from the sufferings of life. When Buddha saw all sorts of sufferings, he realized how inevitable suffering is in one's life. He figured, everybody's gonna get old, everybody's gonna get some disease, and everybody's gonna die finally. He realized dukkha, means suffering in human life, exists mainly because of our attachment to things, to our possessions. Because one day, those things shall be separated from you, and you will experience the pain of separation, loss, suffering. He discussed detachment from material possessions to avoid suffering. That's why he led an ascetic life, devoid of any attachment to possessions. What about ancient Western philosophers? The father of Western philosophy, Socrates, what has he said on suffering? He said, if you don't get what you want, you suffer. If you get what you don't want, you suffer. Even when you get exactly what you want, you still suffer because you can't hold on to it forever. True wisdom comes to each of us when we realize how little we understand about life ourselves and the world around us. This is a kind of suffering too. Nietzsche. Nietzsche is one of the most controversial modern German philosopher of 19th century. Also one of the most revolutionary thinkers of modern times. He was an atheist. He is known for his amazing idea, will to power. He wrote in his dynamic, aphoristic style with great effect. His quotes are like, God is dead, we killed him. In heaven, all interesting people are missing. He who has a why to live can almost bear anyhow. Convictions are more dangerous enemies of truth than lies. That which does not kill us makes us stronger. He is arguably one of the top 5 persons responsible for shaping and influencing the thinkers from the Western world in modern times. No intellectual discussion in modern times is complete without considering Nietzsche's thoughts and his point of view. Nietzsche almost celebrated suffering. He gave great importance to suffering. According to Nietzsche, suffering is absolutely unavoidable. In fact, one should welcome suffering in life, and after enduring suffering, however painful it may be, you become a better person. You have overcome that fight, that challenge, and have learned some valuable lessons in the process. Even in defeat, you learn lessons. But life without suffering, it's shallow, devoid of any life-changing experiences, devoid of any depth. Look at 2 of his most meaningful quotes on suffering. To live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in that suffering. That which does not kill us makes us stronger. Both quotes directly connect with his thoughts on suffering. Nietzsche's attitude towards suffering was very positive. There was no fear of suffering, just appreciation of the contributory role of suffering in your life. Unfortunately, Nietzsche died before both the world wars, and humanity changed big time post-World Wars. So what were the thoughts of some post-World War thinkers on suffering? First, Albert Camus. Albert Camus, the Algerian French philosopher and a novelist, saw the World War II closely. Camus was a uniquely different philosopher in many ways. Many philosophers in the past faced difficult times which included physical and mental health problems or disabilities, social and sexual frustrations. Sometimes they were ridiculed and mocked publicly because they were ahead of their times. Camus was different. He represented good life. He was a handsome man. He enjoyed a colorful life. He loved to dress well. He was a sportsman. He played football passionately. He is known to have many girlfriends. He died in a car accident at a young age of 46. In spite of his great life, Camus spoke about absurdity of life, which is again a form of suffering. In his famous essay, Myth of Sisyphus, he discussed the sufferings of Sisyphus. Gods had decided to punish Sisyphus. He would have to push a rock up a mountain. Upon reaching the top, the rock would roll down again, leaving Sisyphus to start over. Camus claims that Sisyphus acknowledges the futility of his task and the certainty of his fate. He is free to realize the absurdity of his situation and to reach a state of contented acceptance. After Camus, it is Carl Jung. Jung was a Swiss psychiatrist, thinker, philosopher. He saw the World War I closely and was a part of the Swiss army. Jung, like Nietzsche, very openly, very positively accepted the role of suffering and importance of suffering in life. Look at some of his quotes. Every real solution is only reached by intense suffering. The foundation of all mental illness is the unwillingness to experience legitimate suffering. Every psychic advance of man arises from the suffering of the soul. The principal aim of psychotherapy is not to transport one to an impossible state of happiness, but to help the client acquire steadfastness and patience in the face of suffering. No one could embrace suffering better than Jung. Suffering is of various kinds. Suffering includes intense training, overcoming of hurdles, putting in strong efforts to achieve goals. But of course, there is no gain without pain. For example, athletes, sportsmen train hard to become perfect to win the competitions. Their training is excruciatingly painful and hard. They suffer so that they can ultimately achieve their goals and finally win. So indeed, life is suffering. But to achieve glory, achieve success, reach new level of evolution, reach new level of consciousness, understand your dark side, understand your new dimensions. Life is suffering to know the universe, know yourself, know your soul.